Here are Danny and Lossie with episode 3 of the scrapped features of the Battlefield franchise. It has been some time ago since the last episode, but if you missed those, we recommend watching those as well. But without further ado, let's start off with number 1. In the first Battlefield Bad Company game, there would have been a gameplay mechanic where you would mark an enemy helicopter with the laser designator, and Haggard would shoot it down. They eventually scrapped the idea because shooting down helicopters yourself is obviously a lot more fun. For the next one, we go way back to Battlefield 1943, a game that is only released for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. However, there was a PC version in development too, which sadly had to be scrapped because a lot more work was needed for another game, so resources were moved around. I really wish that game was on PC though. For point number 3, we stay with Battlefield 1943. In the air superiority mode, the initial design was to be an objective-based mode where you had to destroy the carriers in the water. This was eventually scrapped due to the imbalance it caused once a team controlled the zone around the enemy carriers. It was launched with a single flying objective that you could capture in the retail game, a system that also returned for Battlefield 3. For the next point, it's time for Battlefield 2142. Do you remember the Titans, the massive flying space bases that you have to take over and destroy in Titan mode? Did you know they were initially ground-based, where you could just walk into them without the use of pods or VTOLs? That would have really changed the mode up. I guess it would look a lot more like Battlefield 4's Naval Strike's Carrier Assault, but then with less boats. For number 5, we also stay with 2142. There were supposed to be one-man light mechs that would have looked a bit like loaders from the Alien franchise. The EU support vehicles still got a slot in the back from which it would airdrop one, and the Titans would have been able to deploy one as well. Point number 6, it's time to get to the streets of Battlefield Hardline, where it was planned to have a Rocket League-like mode, but with guns. It would have worked a bit like this. Everyone spawns in a car, one ball in the middle of the map. People on the second seat are guns blazing and trying to stop the enemy team from scoring a goal with a football. Could have been quite fun. We're not 100% sure if it was actually planned before or after Rocket League's massive success on the PC and PlayStation 4, but it could definitely have been a fun mode together with Hotwire. Talking of Hotwire, on the Battlefield Hardline CTE, Visceral tried out a mode with only Jeeps and no RPGs, something that kinda plagued the vanilla version of Hotwire. However, it never made it out of the CTE because they didn't want to split the player base even more, since you can't just replace the old mode with the new one. At spot number 8, there is the camera pigeon in Battlefield 1. Initially seen in the community test environment, it was a flyable pigeon with a spotting camera on its belly. This camera could outline enemy soldiers with the press of a button. It was cut due to balancing issues. For points 9 and 10, we return to Battlefield Hardline. In the final DLC, named Betrayal, Visceral Games scrapped a map set in the Florida Keys, with a ton of bridges and built around boat combat. But because Visceral realised the boat combat in the game wasn't that great, having just an LMG on the side, they scrapped it. Also, getting stranded in the water wasn't too much fun. Another map that could have been was set on Fort Jefferson in Florida. The layout and all was already made, but they stopped developing since they ended up being too similar to Alcatraz. And in a Cops and Robbers game, a map set in the famous prison makes more sense. In Battlefield Vietnam, there was a throwing knife planned based on the Battlefield 1942 throwing knife that got added in the Secret Weapons of World War II expansion pack. And also in Battlefield Vietnam, there was a booby trap system with the use of wire cutters. It was fully animated and even had sound, only lacking some HUD icons. When placing it, it looks like a block of TNT that instantly detonates when an enemy uses the vehicle it's placed on. And at last, for number 13, it's poison gas in Battlefield 2. Also part of the Special Forces expansion, there were gas canisters planned for BF2. Everybody's favourite grenade from Battlefield 1, are you happy that one was scrapped, or are you sad something else is scrapped? Leave it in the comments. Anyway, that's all we got for today. This was Danny and Lossie, and we'll see you on the battlefield.